Both Republicans and Democrats are ramping up attacks to win the U.S. 2022 midterm elections. The latest polls show Republicans are pulling ahead. The Democrats say democracy is in danger if you don't vote for them. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Well, we made it, everyone. It's Election Day in the U.S., which means that after months of media coverage on the midterm elections, there will finally be at least another week or two of media coverage, especially if it takes longer to figure out who won. That's what every American who went through the 2020 election wants to hear. Maybe the media thinks they're helping by warning people that it could take days to count the votes, but they're not. It's like if your dog died and then your parents bought you a new puppy while warning you that the puppy will die someday too. Have fun with Rover, son, but never forget the mortality of all living creatures. I can't wait for the midterm coverage to end so we can start talking about the presidential election, 2024, baby. Please, make it stop. Can we get at least a week-long break from nonstop campaigning? What's that, Shelley? No, we can't. Still, the 2022 midterms are important. They will shape the House of Representatives, the Senate, and state governorships. Currently, Democrats have the White House. They also have control of Congress, with 220 Democrats versus 212 Republicans in the House, and a 50-50 split in the Senate, with Vice President Kamala Harris as the tiebreaker. But Republicans could take back Congress, since all 435 seats in the House of Representatives are on the ballot, as well as 35 Senate seats. Republicans need to add 6 more seats to win control of the House of Representatives, and a pickup of 1 seat to control the Senate. A lot is at stake. If Republicans retake just 1 chamber, they can block President Biden's agenda for the remainder of his term and launch investigations into his administration and his family. If they win the Senate as well as the House, they can pass their own legislation, block any Biden Supreme Court nominee should the situation arise again, blunt any significant congressional inquiries into former President Trump, and lay the groundwork for a potential GOP administration in 2024. Of course, President Biden could probably veto any legislation that the Democrats are very opposed to, like, for example, banning abortion nationwide. Even if Republicans take the House and the Senate, they won't have the 2/3 majority they need to override a veto. Checks and balances. Still, Democrats are fighting hard to prevent Republicans from taking Congress. They're campaigning on fighting climate change, protecting racial and other minorities, countering voter suppression, and promises to protect abortion. Abortion is an especially important issue to Democrats. After the Supreme Court ruling that overturned Roe v. Wade, Democrats saw a boost in the polls. Many thought abortion advocates would be key to the Democrats winning the midterms, which is why Biden is vowing to codify abortion rights if Democrats win.
Here's the promise I make to you and the American people. The first bill that I will send to the Congress will be to codify Roe v. Wade. And when Congress passes it, I'll sign it.
Meanwhile, Republicans are campaigning on fighting illegal immigration and crime, protecting parental rights, lowering energy costs, and blaming Biden for causing inflation. Blaming Biden isn't that hard to do given his low approval ratings. This might be paying off. Data from polling aggregators like 538 and 270 to Win show that Republicans are favored to win the House, while it's currently a dead heat for the Senate, as usual. But Republicans are riding an optimistic wave, amid signs that critical Senate seats are increasingly within their grasp. They're even going for seats that are in deep Democratic Party territory, like New York and California. This might sound ambitious, even unrealistic, but it's actually looking possible. Right after Halloween, Cook Political Report, a newsletter that analyzes campaigns and elections, moved its ratings, showing 10 more blue House districts moving in the Republicans' direction. Part of the reason Republicans are making gains is thanks to Republican state lawmakers passing gerrymandered maps that favor them. Gerrymandering is the drawing of district lines to give the drawer a political advantage. If you want to learn more about how gerrymandering works, check out our episode on it. The link is below. But don't get me wrong, Democrats also gerrymander. Both sides do it to make sure their team wins. This recently backfired for Democrats in New York when they attempted to gerrymander Republicans into just a handful of seats. It ended up going to court, where a court-appointed neutral map maker came up with a map that was much more competitive, which Democrats did not like at all. But district lines alone don't explain why Republicans are projected to win. I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. Polls are showing that Republicans have the political winds at their back in the 2022 midterm elections. It was just weeks ago that Democrats had the upper hand, but Republicans did an entire Uno reverse. In the House, this isn't exactly surprising, since the president's party have lost House seats in 17 of the 19 midterms since World War II. Basically, in midterms, Americans tend to vote against whichever political party controls the White House, usually because they're mad at the president. Checks and balances. But Democrats are especially vulnerable this year because the national mood is as bad, if not worse, than it has been in any recent midterm election year. And there's nothing worse than a nation in a bad mood. That's how we got the KFC Double Down. This is textbook depression food. In fact, if you're feeling really depressed, you should add some ice cream on top. According to many pollsters, it seems Republican messages are resonating with voters more than ones from Democrats. So what messages are resonating? What do voters actually care about? An October Reuters and Ipsos poll found that the top concerns are inflation, jobs in the economy, and gun violence. More recently, data from Pew Research Center shows that the economy is the most important issue for registered voters, followed by the future of democracy, education, healthcare, energy policy, and violent crime. Similarly, according to a CNN poll, the top concern among likely voters is the economy and inflation at 51%. CNN also reports that those who say the economy is their top concern think Republicans would do a much better job handling the economy and inflation compared to Democrats. By a lot. After looking at those numbers, I bet there's some Democratic Party strategists who really need a KFC Double Down with ice cream. At the end of the day, what matters most to voters is how they're going to afford essentials like rent, groceries, and gas. This is overshadowing other issues like abortion. While support for abortion access is driving the party's most loyal voters, it does not appear to be outweighing economic concerns for pivotal swing voters. Those darn swing voters, voting on issues that are important to them, don't they know elections are about getting your team to win at any cost? White suburban women, a key group that helped Democrats get into power in 2018, are swinging towards Republicans. But even in the last election, other voter groups that typically support Democrats also shifted towards Republicans. Wow, it's almost like everyone could be a swing voter if they really tried. Democrats are nervous about their losses among key demographics, which is why they're saying democracy is at stake if voters don't vote for them. I'll explain more after the break. Welcome back. Republicans are projected to win the House of Representatives, and they have a good shot at winning the Senate as well, with some possible wins even in deep blue states. Some Democratic Party operatives are criticizing blue state governors who they say are dragging down the rest of the party. For example, some people criticize California Governor Gavin Newsom for picking fights with Republican governors on the other side of the country rather than focusing on helping other Democrats in California's election. I'm shocked that a man who ate at French Laundry in the middle of the pandemic doesn't care about helping others. And some blame New York Governor Kathy Hochul for the gerrymandering chaos that ended up hurting Democrats. And overall, Democrats really dug themselves a hole with gas prices when President Biden canceled the Keystone XL pipeline and discouraged domestic oil and gas production. Even though the reasons for high gas prices is more complicated than that, the perception is that Democrats care more about climate change than lowering prices for Americans. And blaming everything on Putin didn't work either. Not to mention how Democrats made inflation worse with trillions of dollars of government spending, ignoring the warnings of even some liberal economists. But why reflect on your own mistakes when you can scare people instead? The closing message that Democrats are going with is that Republicans are a threat to America's democracy, and Democrats are the only people who can save it.
We have to be more relentless in terms of protecting democracy than the Republicans are in terms of tearing it down. And that is the charge for the Democratic Party over the course of the next few weeks, few months, and the years to come.
We are really, truly facing an environment of fascism.
And we've got to save democracy.
This race for governor isn't about Democrats or Republicans. It's a choice between sanity and chaos.
Even former President Barack Obama is getting in on the message.
Democracy is at stake in this election, and that's why it's not enough to elect Democrats like Mandela Barnes and Tony Evers. You've got to elect good people up and down the ballot, because if things get close, they could make all the difference. Folks can win if we don't do our part. And if you've got election deniers serving as your governor, as your senator, as your secretary of state, as your attorney general, then democracy as we know it may not survive in Arizona. That's not an exaggeration. That is a fact.
Democracy as we know it may not survive. That's quite a claim. Look, everyone knows that election denialism is bad unless your party loses the election. Then questioning the results is totally justified. But by running on this Save Democracy platform, Democrats are essentially saying that in a two-party system, you can only vote for one party. The complete opposite of checks and balances. Democrats are also saying that voters can't disagree with them. Even if you don't like what the Democratic Party is doing, you must vote for them. According to Substack writer Josh Barro, this amounts to telling voters that they have already lost their democracy. Please vote, but only for us because the alternative is fascism, is not very inspiring. And the actions of the Democratic Party don't exactly support the claim. If they really believe that democracy is under threat if Republicans get in power, then why did Democrats spend money boosting far-right Republicans in Republican primaries? Surely it wasn't a cynical political move to make it easier for Democrats to win against weaker opponents in the midterm elections, even if it also means that these scary far-right Republicans could also actually win thanks to help from Democrats. That's not something the Democrats should be doing if they really believe that democracy is at stake in this election. So either the Democratic Party doesn't actually believe that they need to save democracy, or by helping far-right Republicans, they're saying the Democrats were the fascists all along. You know, I really miss the days when the dumbest political ads were about John Kerry windsurfing. But as Winston Churchill once sort of said, democracy is the worst form of government, except all those others that have been tried. As frustrating and annoying as America's political system can be, it's so much better than being in an authoritarian country like most of the rest of the world. So Americans, get out and vote for who you want in office. That's what will save democracy. And then go home and watch the results come in with a nice big KFC Double Down with 2 scoops of ice cream. So what do you think about the midterm elections? Leave your comments below. And if you like this show, remember that we rely mainly on direct support from viewers like you. All it takes is as little as $1 per episode over on our crowdfunding website, Patreon. Visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered for more. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.